the Southland, 1 week at a time. SCV chat starts now.
Before we get started on this episode, I just want to go ahead and get everybody heads up that the views and opinions expressed on this broadcast are not necessarily those of the SCV, its GEC, any division, brigade, camp, or other subsidiaries, strictly those of us who are expressing them. And good evening. Tonight is going to be a little bit different of an episode than what you're used to on SCV Chat. Last week we started covering the Confederate Catechism, and we do plan on revisiting that topic soon. However, this evening we are going to be putting a somewhat of a pin in that topic. We will be, as I've said, we will be revisiting it next week, so definitely be getting your copies. Remember that Frank Powell is selling them on scuppernogpress.com, and they are a good recruiting tool. As many of y'all are aware, unless you've been living under a rock, this past week, what I would call an act of domestic terrorism occurred in Utah. Charlie KIRK, who was a conservative commentator and founder of Turning Point USA, a strong voice in the right, political movement, was gunned down and assassinated by a coward. And we want to talk about Charlie and things like that. Harrison and I both have a separate history dealing with Charlie and TPUSA. And I'll let Harrison talk about his experience with that, here in a minute. But it is a sad thing that any type of murder or event like that would happen, especially somebody who is so young. Charlie was 31 years old. I'm 32. And if you follow our Patreon, or if you read our post that we put out right after the assassination occurred, we were asked, or we began talking to each other about the future of this program, where we wanted to go, where we wanted to take it now that we were getting Patreon funds in. And we both said that if we could emulate Charlie KIRK and his broadcast, his program, and what he was doing in any way, shape, or form, that's the format we wanted to do. Charlie was, of course, known for kind of going out to college, universities, and I guess that's really how he got famous. Besides TPUSA, was his want to go and have civil discussion regarding issues that are not there's no issue that is too tough to talk about, and Charlie believed that. So I'm going to shut up for a second and let Moose talk about Charlie and his experience with him, and then we'll go into some more stuff.
So I put out a post on my SCV page, my personal page, and my political page last week, describing the four main important things in my life are God, family, history, and politics, and how that grew when I was at the University of Mississippi. Ole Miss played an indirect role in that by pissing me off. And that pushed me into the Colonel Reb Foundation, which kind of whetted my appetite for doing more in the SCV, since I was already in the SCV and cared a lot about my heritage. And the foundation was only about this one tradition, while the SCV was about the full Southern tradition and our ancestors and these great men that laid a great foundation for us, like Robert E. Lee, Jefferson Davis, Nathan Bedford Forrest, so on and so on. But I don't really talk about how I became a quote-unquote Jeffersonian during that time, and part of that was my time as vice president in Turning Point, where, I won't say that, I work very close to Charlie Kirk, but, I watch his stuff every day. His organization sent stuff that he had been working on for college students that they needed to know and to read and how to debate and stuff like that. And how his organization also helped with picking a speaker for my time over at Turning Point to come in, and how he did send us a message saying that he thinks that'd be a great person to come over and have speak. And then he was scheduled to come speak in October of this year. So Charlie was kind of the first person that gave me an awakening in politics. And Connor had already talked about it. When we first started this show, there was a couple people that we kind of listed together that we hoped the show would turn into, and what we hoped it would set the groundwork for, like Charlie did for young conservative, the young conservative movement. We wanted to do for a young Confederate heritage, Southern heritage movement. That's kind of what we wanted to start, and we took a lot of influence from that. And in doing so, we looked a lot into what he was doing with Turning Point and his own show. We've always described this as an online television show, and while I got that from somebody else, Charlie was one of the people that started that. Getting more numbers than traditional media. Getting more money than CNN, or getting more viewership than CNN, Fox, some of these juggernauts, and getting more views on a weekly basis. And so a lot of our quote unquote 10-year plan that we've talked about on the show a lot is very heavily inspired by Charlie. And again, it was just such a shocking moment last Wednesday when I heard about this. I still see the image of what happened to him in my head, and still cannot believe what happened. I'm honestly still in shock. I'm either in denial or anger. I go back and forth between them. Part of me still can't believe what happens, and the other part of me gets pissed very easily right now. Hence why the disclaimer is just going to stay probably at the bottom of the episode for the majority of this one.
Yeah, no kidding.
Because we want to be unrecognizable tonight, that this is coming from the SCV chat team and not the Sons of Confederate Veterans.
Yeah, we definitely try to respect the nonprofit status and everything like that. So,
and Carl has a great point, and I think we were going to talk about this a bit later, but I do want to highlight this right now. Confederate heritage cannot logically be separated from traditional American conservatism. And I couldn't agree more. As I said, when I was in college is when that spark got lit, and I started bugging the crap out of Connor. And this is how we all started all this friendship, is because my love for my heritage and my interest in politics coincided. What happened in 2020 here in Mississippi with the flag? That was the knocking off point. What happened in 2020 with the Confederate monument on campus is the kicking off point. And they happened pretty close together. And that's what kind of started this dive. I think I've talked about it on here before, and I'm not plugging it. I'm not saying the name of it, but I do have a actual podcast I do on politics. And that's all you're going to get from me. But it went hand in hand. And it's because, and Carl is 100% right, you can't take the Confederate heritage out of traditional American conservatism. You can't. It starts with Thomas Jefferson. It goes to John C. Calhoun, Jefferson Davis, Robert E. Lee. They embodied that conservatism. And in a way, Charlie embodied it. And as we'll talk about later, I honestly think Charlie was starting to understand more and more about Southern culture.
Yeah, or at least the struggle with preserving our heritage.
Yeah,
we'll get into that. Definitely later when we start pulling up our stuff. One of the things I love the most about Charlie, and I do think that it would be remiss before we continue on, is how unashamed he was for the gospel. I'm sure many of y'all have seen the clips that have been floating around the internet, talking about, when he did a podcast a couple of months ago, a couple of weeks ago. And somebody asked him, "How do you want to be remembered?" And he said, "The thing I want to be remembered the most about, of course, is my faith." And indeed, that is true. I will say, which of course our thoughts and prayers go out to Erica and Mrs. Kirk and his family, and everything that's going on that they're having to go through. But this morning I was getting on TikTok and was going through my feeds, and it's almost what's being somewhat called the Charlie Kirk effect, that people are, yesterday being Sunday, went to church. For a lot of them, I grew up in church. I grew up, but I stopped going to church. But now I'm going to church because of Charlie and because of the impact Charlie had in learning about his life. So I will say that, and I hope that's how Charlie is remembered, as starting a great revival in this nation. I do hope that, but his faith was something that he should be remembered for, and it should be, we should all remember that he was a man of faith, and of course, I'm not going to try to get on a preaching soapbox, but for the Christian, death is not the end. The Christ said that he's going to prepare a place for us, and if we're not so, that he would have told us. So I mean, it is a it is a sad moment, but we do rejoice in the fact that Charlie is now with the Savior.
Yeah, and I'll talk about this a bit more, but 3 things I think we do need to focus on, not necessarily as an organization, but as Southern people in this fight that we'll talk about a bit more as the show progresses, is we need to focus on a revival. We do need to focus on the spirit of this nation, which has been crushed. And Charlie did say Jesus defeated death so you can live. It's all about Jesus. And one I do want to mention is, to be Christian means to forgive the unexcusable because God has forgive the unexcusable in you.
Right.
Something I think needs to be talked about more is forgiveness. I'm definitely one of those that have had to work on myself in that regard. And I truly do think that we need to focus on that as a people, as a Southern culture, which luckily we are in the Bible Belt, so a lot of people do understand that. And I think, actually, I don't think I know, with that quote and with everything else, and someone mentioned it to me, and it kind of has been helpful. You can't hold on to hate. And if Charlie could talk to who did this to him, I do think he would forgive him. I think he would also debate him, which I think would have been a great debate, because he is a Christian man, and we all need to follow that. We all need to have forgiveness in our heart, because that is one of the ways we can save this country, is through forgiveness and through the gospel.
Well, and that's one thing that I wanted to kind of talk about Charlie's legacy is he wasn't out there as a gotcha moment. He was more of a, I mean, in all honesty, it was an honest to goodness, real, true debate. The idea, and I would dare say that everybody keeps calling him a right wing pundit or activist. I would dare say that Charlie, though he was not he was in politics. That was his business, obviously. But as he hadn't ran for office yet, that I would classify him as a statesman. And in today's age, when now it's just try to get the person with the next gotcha moment or gaffe. Charlie was, trying to have a civil discourse and debate, and these are my ideas. What are your ideas? Let's see if there is some common ground, because and it's like Harrison and I were talking about before the episode. When we stop talking as a people, whether it's in this collection of states, or whether it is as individual states, or whatever. When we stop talking, we stop having discord. That's when we get to 1861 again. That's when we stop looking at the potential best in each other and automatically assume the worst. And indeed, that's what we saw last week. Was somebody who did not want to do that, who saw the listened to the ideology of one side or the other, and took it to an extreme measure.
And Charlie even said that. I think he's quoted as saying, I do this because when we stop having debate, when we stop talking, when we stop trying to learn from each other, and even being able to agree to not agree, is when violence happens.
Right, and it is. And he was so wise in that. One thing else about Charlie that I will say that that I respected about him is that he wanted to, whether you agreed with him or not, he treated you with the same dignity and respect that he would expect to be treated. And that is very, very showing of his character. Because in an age where everything is so politicized, and if you're not for me, you're against me, and if a certain side of the debate wants to have some type of moral absolutism, where they think that they're automatically superior, and that their side's automatically right and your side's automatically wrong, which comes from that puritanical thought process. I'll just go ahead and say it.
It does come from that.
Or extremist ideology, where again their ideology is better than yours. Charlie wanted to hear the different opposing viewpoints.
He did, and as you said, he treated them all with respect. And like Carl said, he was real, he was heartfelt, he was genuine, and showed love even towards his enemy. Even people that would just go up to the mic, "Hey, F you,"
right,
walk away. Charlie would be like, "Well, freedom of speech.
Right.
Glad you came up today. Have a blessed day." And he wasn't saying it in a condescending way. I've seen so many people take what I call the Charlie blueprint, and they go tour campuses, and they go talk to college students. And I think the reason some of them aren't so successful is because they are very, well, I hope you have a good day. Hope something doesn't they're being sarcastic. They're not being genuine. And Charlie was genuine. He wanted to go change your mind, and I'll challenge you to change his.
Yeah, and at the end of the day, whether you changed his mind or not, or whether he changed your mind or not, he still he still believed in the ability, the idea of differing thoughts to go forward. And it's when we stop allowing differing thoughts, different ideas from happening, is when we get to a point where we're up a creek without a paddle.
I agree. And sorry, I'm having an allergy attack today of all days. And we do have to focus on being that genuine when we go out. We do have to focus on knowing our stuff. And that's why we were so happy to start the series we started last Monday, because we thought it could set a strong foundation for people to talk about this.
Yeah.
And
and it kind of reminds me of a quote from Robert E. Lee. I'm glad you're talking about this, which also encapsulates Charlie. Charlie, I love the term autodidact. When I learned what autodidact means, I actually, weirdly enough, or not weirdly, but I learned that term from Charlie. Um, and that term means self-educated. And some of the best historians that we have, some of our best contributors that we have on the show are self-educated, and Charlie was self-educated. Charlie did not finish college. He decided to instead, found Turning Point. But he read constantly. He learned constantly. And Robert E. Lee said that the education of a man is not completed until his death. That's I mean, it's true. So whether you completed a PhD or whether you completed a GED, it doesn't matter. You can still learn.
And that is definitely something I have learned from Charlie, as well as Shelby Foote. And I'm going to mess with Carl because it's true, Carl Jones, that you can become a historian. You can become a highly educated person without
without the fancy letters.
Without the fancy language.
I was going to say the fancy letters. You
fancy letters. Sorry, troll on YouTube of all days. And we talked about this a bit before the show, how Charlie, being a self-educated man, you could actually see a lot of points where he grew on, and one of them, as we talked about, was Southern culture, was Southern history. And I do have something, and while I'm reading it, because I think Connor has some similar to it, I'll let him be able to pull that up.
Yeah, you want to start on the 27th one, or you want to start on the 26th?
I think you do the 26th because I think I have the 27th.
Well, I've got them both pulled up, but I'll share one from the 20. That's the one that starts with Elon being right?
Yeah, and I have that one. I can read that while you're.
Yeah. If I can get it to pull up, man.
Technical issues. The fun of the show.
My mouse is not wanting to work for some reason.
The left claim that destroying a century-old Robert E. Lee statue by a great American artist represents healing. The truth is the exact opposite. Letting the South publicly honor its experience during the war between the states was a major part of the nation's post-war healing. Allowing different political factions to celebrate their heroes is key to part of political harmony. Destroying the Lee statue isn't about healing. It's an act of aggression, a show of dominance, and hatred by people who want America's history. To destroy it, to change it to fit their narrative, so on and so on. It's historic values, and yes, it's historic people wiped out. And I think, because that's something that kind of got me started on my own journey, is because Charlie did say at some point that, during 2020, he wasn't much on our side, quote unquote.
Yeah. So in 2020, he tweeted about, how when Robert E. Lee's citizenship, came up in Congress, that, reminded everybody that Joe Biden voted in favor of restoring Robert E. Lee's citizenship. But, fast forward 3 years later, after hearing things, and seeing just how the South was treated and still is treated, and he completely changes his tone on things. He goes into the being a supporter of preserving our history. Indeed, you see here, I don't know if you see my mouse or not, my cursor, but Elon saying they absolutely want your extinction, and seeing that and that being the catalyst for this this response from Charlie, and saying that Elon Musk is right as a member of that is the best way I can describe it, or articulate it rather, as being a member of the ones that they are trying to destroy and eradicate. I do not want, it's like he's standing up. It's like he's standing up for me.
And I think he is in that point. Again, I think Charlie slowly started realizing why they were attacking the South. Again, I used to mess with Charlie when I was at Turning Point. When we were at meetings, I would be like, Charlie's a Yankee, so we have to cut him some slack. And that was kind of the running joke if we were talking about Charlie and someone disagreed, was, he was a Yankee. It's okay. We'll get him straight. But I think he did realize a couple years ago why they were attacking Southern heroes, why they were attacking Southern history, because we all have seen it happen to the founding. And it's the complete rewrite of American history to fit their agenda, to fit what they're pushing. And what they're pushing is a fascist government where you can't say what you want. And we'll get into, I'll personally get into that in a second, or a bit down in the episode. But he understood. You could see him understand the fact, okay, they're making up lies and trying to twist the truth about George Washington, of all people, Thomas Jefferson, all these great founders, these great men. And he understood, I think, that it started with the South because we, as I've heard a lot of SCV members put it, are the low-hanging fruit. We were the easiest to attack.
Right.
Because we were just, yeah.
We're the backbone of Western culture. We're the last true, bastion of hope of traditional Western values. Charlie, the day before, had tweeted this. A historic century-old Robert E. Lee statue by famed American artist Henry Schrady, once stood in Charlottesville, Virginia, has now been destroyed forever, melted down so it can be turned into a new piece of public art, which is guaranteed to be a hideous abomination. It's not a surprise that the left sympathizes with Hamas. After all, their view on statues is the same as the Taliban's. Again, we see Charlie's, understanding in that, and understanding what we're going through down here.
He did. And, I like what, some of the people have said. The attack upon Southern history was a starting point for the attack on American history. 100% correct. That's from Commander-in-Chief Kennedy. Carl Jones, the ability to change positions based on learning new information is the hallmark of honesty. And that's something that Charlie was very open about, that, while he hasn't, changed his position on like his fundamentals, you can see right here where he's changed his position on our heritage, our culture. And that is because he kept learning. Recall what R.E. Lee said, paraphrasing, of course. A patriot may do the opposite in one circumstance that he does in another. And that motivates, and the motivation that compels him, the desire to do right, is precisely the same. And I want to thank Carl for that. But that was Charlie. He wanted to tell the truth. He wanted people to change his mind. And as you can see, someone maybe started planting the seeds in his mind about our heritage.
Right.
Or maybe he saw it and saw himself. As I said, he was a very intelligent man. Bless his heart. I was watching a debate of his where he went to some of like the top colleges in Europe. And I think in one of the interviews, Charlie was like,
he was at Oxford.
Yeah, he was at Oxford. And I think one he did at Cambridge a couple years before he did the Oxford one. And I think the funny interview I saw was they were like, so how do you think they did? You did. And Charlie was like, well, he was like, that first one was a bit different. And he admitted that, he wasn't ready for that debate. And then a couple years later, when he went to Oxford, they were like, how do you think you did on that one? He was like, oh, I did good. I had a lot of people come to me after that one. And he did. You can go look. I watched both of them, and I will agree. Charlie, bless his heart, did not know. You can tell that he was about to get in a debate with some of the most educated people in that part of the world. And the second one, he came prepared. And he continued to learn. And he was honest about himself. He was honest if he was caught off guard. He was honest if he was like, you know what, I might not have the answers, but I'll get back to you and give you the answers. And I think that honesty is why a lot of youth resonated with him.
Oh, yeah.
The youth do like people that have all the answers, but they also don't like someone lying that they have all the answers when they obviously don't. And that's what we have to know about going up to this youth. If they've been brainwashed, that they think that these people they are following know the truth. But what they'll know sooner or later is that they've been lied to. And if there's one thing young people don't like, is being lied to, figuring out someone has lied to them. So I think that's very important to put in the back of your head as well. As I said, knowing your stuff. Yeah, not the most educated, but the most indoctrinated. Yes, but you could tell that, you know, they knew a couple of good facts off the top of the head. Again, I think Charlie said that they put out like a week before that he knew that the university knew he was coming to get ready. So these kids had a week to prepare for Charlie, and Charlie had like a day. Again, I felt bad for him. I couldn't imagine going to that environment, but I think that's also very key. Charlie was the spirit of that American conservative movement. And as someone said, I can't remember who, I think it was Carl, you can't separate that from the South because our people are the ones that founded that belief. And I think as Charlie got more educated, got more experienced, I couldn't imagine how good he would have gotten. I think a lot of people were woken up by the attacks on American history and saw the truth. And I think Charlie was one of them too. And again, knowing your stuff is extremely important. If you don't, that's okay. I'm not a debater. I will, if you have seen an episode that I have produced by myself versus an episode Connor has produced, sometimes you're going to see a lot more facts, a lot more statistics, a lot more education, because Connor knows his stuff pretty well. I have made no exception in telling everybody I do not. I'm still on this journey to learn all that stuff. But I still come here every Monday, every Thursday, some Tuesdays now, and try my best to help. Whether it's sharing stuff out, asking questions that maybe the audience has, or sometimes actually being able to contribute or say a couple things every now and then. And I can't point out how important that is. We all have to share stuff out. We all have to show this to people in public. Hey, you know, did you see this? SCV Chat did an episode on Confederate I'm not going to be able to say that word now, Connor.
Catechism.
Thank you. And, you know, this is what they say about secession. This is what they say on next week's episode, you know, so on and so on and so on. We've done a lot of great episodes on debates, on the viewpoint of our history, and other people have done the same. Share that out. You don't have to be a full-fledged debater. If you can't keep your anger in check, if you can't retain knowledge that well, if you get nervous, that's all fine. But there's a place for everybody in this fight. And again, Charlie started somewhere. Charlie was just an 18-year-old kid when he started this.
With an idea.
And you can be like that too. So don't let nerves get you. And if you honestly do feel like maybe I'm not the debater, be the person that shares the information.
Right.
And I think that's a very important takeaway because
and
if you want to jump in, yeah.
Well, I was going to say it is very important because, you look at it, having, the reason why Charlie got so popular, yes, Turning Point, helped him get popular. But the fact that he was going to these debates and he was using social media to his advantage, and he was going and trying to influence young minds and connecting and resonating with that younger ideology, is the reason why he had so much success. And because he was putting it on social media, people were able to watch it. People were able to, okay, well, this is the idea, and it was able to spread like wildfire. that's the big thing on it, is that he was able to use it to his advantage. And if no matter what it is, share it out there. You have to share it out there.
And I think, again, that's very important. I have been trying my hardest to share stuff out there I like, and something that I got from Brian McClanahan. And I'm a Patreon supporter of his. That's our plug for our Patreon also this episode. Hey, I have to somewhat keep it light or I'm going to lose myself. But, I asked him, what does he think about getting out education or starting my own educational journey? And he said, in today's social media age, it is the easiest to get out information. It is the easiest to help people learn how to use social media. We've talked about this a lot. And we've talked about how the SCV needs to use social media, or the Southerner person in general. And we have to learn that, everybody. I was guilty. I was, no matter if I'm Generation Z, I did not understand social media, and I had to grow to understand social media because it is a very important part of educating. So I will 100% agree with Connor. Share this stuff out. Learn your stuff. If you want to debate and you got a cool head, you think you can do it, learn your stuff and start small. That's what Charlie did. Charlie went from, just doing a chapter meeting and going to talk to, maybe 5-10 students, to filling up stadiums of people that maybe not all of them are in his Turning Point chapter there, but they all wanted to come learn. They all wanted to debate. They all wanted to come in with most of them come in with an open mind to be persuaded, to be talked to. And that's what we have to do. I couldn't agree more, And I think that's also part of Charlie's legacy. His main legacy will always be that he's a Christian man that defended the faith and went out and spread the gospel. And that should be all of our goals as Christian Southerners. But he also had this very big dedication to education. And this fight, this cultural war that we are in for the soul of this country, for the soul of American heritage as a whole, is going to be political. It is going to be historical. It is going to be needing a revival. One of those is creating, everlasting change. One of those is correcting the history and teaching. The other one is for this country's soul. And we can all use social media on those things. So, I agree. We definitely need to focus on SCV or social media like Charlie did.
Well, and I was going to go ahead and, if you want to, we can go ahead and take our quick break. And then when we come back, we can kind of talk about what we can learn exactly, in more detail from Charlie's example, if you want.
Yeah, no, I think we both have a decent bit on that. So, and I have to get all the way down because I have not been on banners. What'd you say?
Cue it up.
Yeah, I have not had anything ready. Of course, this commercial break is sponsored by our website, our Patreon, and Dr. Chris Cummins. If you are in the Oxford region and you just need a good Southern doctor, someone to treat you good, treat you with Southern hospitality, go check out Dr. Chris Cummins. They do specialize in knee pain, which is one of the reasons I definitely need to go see him. So go check them out, and we want to thank our sponsors for this episode.
There is a place nestled in the rolling farmland of southern Middle Tennessee. A home constructed in 1837, nearly lost to the ravages of war. Saved by a servant and a Confederate general. A place where families loved and lost. If walls could talk, what stories could be told? If a place, a home, can feel love, loss, pain, surely this is one of those places. Nearby is a more recent structure, and inside are the stories of heroes and heroines, stories of battles won and lost, stories of sacrifices made by the people of its native soil. A place that will tell the true and complete story of the Southland and the war fought for its freedom. From the causes that led to the conflict to the modern-day struggles to protect Southern history. Historic Elm Springs and the Confederate Museum at Elm Springs are the general headquarters for the Sons of Confederate Veterans. A place where the story of the Southland and its historic struggle is preserved and told. Come and discover your history.
Welcome back. And I guess one thing I do want to point out about Charlie is Charlie never provoked violence. He never thought that was the answer for what was ailing America. And I do agree with that. We have to fight this battle a certain way, and violence is not going to solve it. As you've seen this week, a lot of people's reaction to this has just been praying, holding memorials, or getting in the fight, or all three.
Right.
And I think that's something we do need to take away from Charlie, was the fact that he wanted to go out there and just change people's mind, talk to people. And he never promoted violence. He always asked that people in the crowd respect someone with a different opinion, even if they weren't respecting us, because honestly, not only is that a Christian trait, I do believe that is a Southern trait. I think Southerners are very understanding of people with different viewpoints, because we do come from the philosophy, to quote Jefferson Davis, all we want to do is be left alone.
Right.
So I think we're more understanding in that regard of people with different opinions. We can, I know we can all look at each other and be like, I'm not going to agree with that. I can't. Me and Connor have had those conversations, and me and Connor will continuously try to change each other's mind. I don't think there's been maybe a handful of times we've changed each other's minds on something. But at the end of the day, that's what Southerns are. So I think that's something very important that we have to put out there. Not only do we need to go out and have be unapologetic Christians, not only do we need to go out there and protect free speech, go out there and never promote violence, control your emotions, because the enemy is trying to rage bait you. They want that response because they know that is what's going to be reported on, not the wins. You have to understand social media and how to use it, and it is key. Trust me, it is the biggest tool that we have. It is going to be the defining point of this war, is how we use social media. And I think those are just a couple of mine. If Connor kind of wants to jump in, you can. Because I have a couple things, but I'm kind of going to save them for last. If you want to go ahead.
Well, I mean, just kind of like what we've all been saying is we have to be ready to get up and take part of the struggle, no matter what it is. Charlie was not afraid to do what he thought was right at the time. He was always wanting to continue to move on. So yeah, that's it. One thing that do you want to talk about where we go from here as the show and some of the stuff that we've received in the past, or do you want where you want to go with this? Because I'm looking at the time and we've got about 10 minutes left.
So we can go into that, and I'll go ahead and kind of give my closing on the Charlie topic, and then we can go into kind of what's next for the show. Because I know you got your, stuff on that. And I just want to say, when it comes to the future of how we need to act, is, quoting Charlie, "Good men must die, but death cannot kill their names." Charlie was fearless. I don't think Charlie started this with the idea that he was going to be in danger. I know that I have gotten death threats. I know Connor has gotten death threats. I know the overall show has gotten death threats, which, they want to come down. Apparently, Connor, I don't know if you remember this, but we have a huge complex and they were going to burn that down. I didn't know SCV Chat had that type of money.
Where is it?
Apparently it's somewhere in Mississippi. I don't know where. But that was one of the stuff I got. But I never took them seriously until now. And I think Charlie knew as he got bigger in the youth movement that it was becoming a possibility that he could be hurt. And I think he even said it is the job of us to stick our necks out and get ready and have no fear. And I want to stress on that tonight. It is okay to be afraid. I know a lot of people are going to say they're not. I'm going to be honest. When this first happened, we said it all over the show. Who's the low-hanging fruit?
Yeah.
Southerners. And so I was just thinking, if they could do that to Charlie, when are they going to start coming after us? And not us as an SCV Chat, but I meant the SCV and just Southerners in general that have this belief that we need to honor our ancestors and their culture and their values. When are we that's going to happen to us? I was scared, and I'm still scared, but I know that the Lord will protect me. And to quote Stonewall Jackson, I'm going to paraphrase here because I didn't expect to use this, but it's popping in my head. The Lord makes me feel as safe on the battlefield as I am in bed. And Charlie also had that fearlessness. And we have to have that because we are in a culture war. We are at a point where our enemy is violent. And that could result in something horrific happening as it did this past Wednesday. And I want to tell you why I'm scared but still doing this. I want to tell you why I, Harrison F. Dawes, Moose, am still putting my face out there, still wearing this flag, why I'm still going out there and putting myself on the line. And me and Connor talked about this a bit before the show, but when I got involved in this, my major concern was the SCV and Southern culture would not be available for my kids, my grandkids, and my great-grandkids. I felt like they would be ashamed and at some point turn away from it, with the end goal being the destruction of our culture and our heritage. That was my main fear. And now I have to worry about, are they going to get shot? Are they going to be bullied into a fascist government that won't let them say, as you've seen in the UK right now, people can pray in their own homes and be arrested. So now where I was thinking, worst case scenario, I'm going to have to teach everything to my kids at my house. I can only have my battle flags at my house. Now it's gotten to the point where I can't even have this at my house if we lose. We cannot be afraid. The time has passed for that. S.O. Dawes was a cavalryman in Mississippi. And he knew when he signed up that there was a chance that he would die. And I honestly never thought I would have to face that decision. And I didn't know what I was going to do if I ever did have to face that decision. And now I do. While I don't want it, while I hope it never happens, while you will probably see me hit the deck if it does, I will be hiding. I'm man enough to say it. Now I have to, because I know Jesus has already conquered death for me. I know where I'm going. I have that faith. But now I have to have the faith that this is what he wants me to do, and this is how I need to do it. And I want to challenge everybody tonight. It's okay to be scared, but you cannot let that fear control you. It is okay to be worried. Me and Connor are both young men. Connor, not so much. Connor's just an adult now.
Thanks.
You're welcome. But, we still are just starting our lives, as Charlie was. He was a husband and a father to a 3-year-old and like an 8-month-old that were in attendance when this happened. And her response to that was never surrender. And we have to have that mentality. I have to go out there knowing that something horrific could happen.
Well, and my thing on it is because I am at a different point in life than you are, Moose.
Yeah.
And it's has been said. My thing is I'm willing to live for my cause.
Mm-hmm.
They're like the guy who committed this act. He thought that he would, from what I've heard, is he had thought about, offing himself. He thought that he was going to get away with it, which, in today's age with social media and everything like that, you're not going to get away with any type of crime.
Mm-hmm.
Plain and simple. It's premeditated. Any crime, no matter what it is, you're not going to get away with it. So go ahead and get that out of your mind, folks. But he was willing to end it all. I'm willing. It's a lot harder to live and struggle through whatever it is, no matter what your cause is, and continue to fight for it every single day than it is to just I'm just going to give up. And I'm wanting to take the example that Charlie left for us and continue on, and every day continue to fight for the struggle, continue to fight for my heritage. Just like it was said, during the campaign, fight. Again, my views, my opinions. If you are picking up where I'm putting down from that quote. But we have to do that. And it's a crazy time to be alive, for sure. But that all being said, it was a crazy time in the 1860s, and now it's just we need to take the resolve that we have, just like Eric and KIRK did. The anger that we have, the whatever frustration we have with the situation, and turn that into our resolve to not give up, our struggle to maintain our culture, our history, and that of these United States.
And I couldn't agree more, Connor. We are facing a similar thing that our ancestors faced in 1861. Now the question is, are we going to fight like they did?
And in this case, it's not physical altercation.
Yes.
It is a pure. Are we gonna sit there, or are we gonna sit there and take it? Like the morally superior ideologues want us to, or not.
Agreed. And before we kind of go to what's next for SCV Chat, that's something you can take away from Charlie KIRK. And I want to challenge everybody to go out and recruit, to go out and get involved, to use social media like Charlie did, to the point where he created this huge youth movement. And we have to create that, people. We have to go out and educate, share. Everybody has a part to play. And, I've talked about my viewpoints. The infighting has to stop because our enemies are already hitting us hard enough. We have to unite. We have to put it behind us for the good of our heritage, for the good of our ancestors, because it's now or never. Everybody has a part to play. It is your goal to find out what part you're playing and what you can do to help. Recruitment, retention, social media push, educating, debating, what have you. There's hundreds of things you can do to help and get involved. And that is one of the things you can learn from Charlie, and find your niche, find what you have and use it. If you kind of want to take the reins and take us to the end on what's next for us here.
Yeah. So what's next for us here is obviously, well, and echo what Carl just said. recruit. It's not just the organization, but to the cause. Exactly. So the future of chat is we're not going away. The morally superior leftist, ideologues
Fascist.
that, fascist ideologues, which I know they call us that, and everybody wants us to tone down the calling, name calling and all that stuff.
Fascist, hate group, the R word.
Yeah. My thing on it is, we're not going anywhere.
No.
I refuse for us to go anywhere and do anything. We have put too much time, too much effort, and it's our ancestors deserve more than the what they the more that to for us to sit back and surrender and to cower in fear is giving in to exactly what they want. We're not going to do that. We are going to continue with doing what we need to do. We're going to ask y'all to continue on doing what y'all need to do. Support us, help us out. Let us, get and continue to reach more and more people. Charlie, I'll give him this, when he started Turning Point, everything like that, he launched a revolution that has created the largest growth of conservatism in, a young generation that we've seen in a while.
Yeah.
Dare say since it almost reminds me of, I can't remember the name of the show, but it had Michael J. Fox in it. And he is a, conservative, almost Reagan supporter. And I'm reminded of that, but now's the time to capitalize on it.
Mhm.
Now's the time to get out there, do something in the areas for the youth. Do something with the youth. The youth are not scary.
No.
A lot of them, I imagine identify with us more than we give them credit for.
I think a lot of them support us without even knowing it.
Right.
I think if we explain to them who we are, they will join us.
And also educate yourself, educate your membership. Get ready for those tough questions. Be able to defend the cause, because we're charged to do that. Be ready to do that, in whatever public forum, public setting you find yourself in. Don't rely on just hearing my word for it, or Harrison's word for it, or Carl's word for it, or even Brian McClanahan's word for it. But use those resources to help you with that.
Exactly. And as we have hinted at a lot on the show, we have a lot of great things planned. We are going to, with y'all's help, and we still need some help here. So I'm putting the Patreon link in the chat again. We have some good stuff planned. I think it'd catch some traction if we can get the help. And I think it's time that we start our own movement, and it's going to take time, but I know me and Connor are in it for the long haul. I know that we have 10-year plans for not only SCV chat, but, beyond SCV chat. And we're not even talking about the organization, but what we think SCV chat can be a launching pad for. So please, stay tuned. We do have a lot of great things planned. I can't wait to share it out. We're going to be doing some cool things. And we hope that you come tonight and learn something, got fired up, want to do something, or if you were coming to mourn with us. I know someone said it was a very hard week, and I have to agree with that. It was a very hard week. It was hard to focus on anything else. I will contribute to SCV in helping me deal with all this, because I had my camp meeting Thursday, and that really brought me a sense of, peace, and of course, church. It's going to get better, and I believe we can win. I know we can win. We just have to get down in the trenches and get ready. This is not a fight that we're going to win with our fists or with violence. We're going to win it with our knowledge, with how dedicated we are to the youth, how dedicated we are to social media, and how dedicated we are to the cause.
And how dedicated we are to each other.
Amen.
Because, I mean, at the end of the day, you know, you can just, like we've talked about, you can disagree with somebody. You can think that, you know, oh my goodness, this guy's throwing this outdated idea that, you know, we've tried and we've tried and we've tried and it just doesn't work. But you know, hey, at the end of the day, you know, at least he's wanting to do something. So
yeah,
support your brothers in the cause.
Please support your brothers, and I couldn't agree more, Connor. That's all about stopping the infighting and coming together. Because some ideas, like you've said, they may be played out a good bit, but that person's wanting to do something. You know, they might not take a good a good approach to how you tell them that, but you know, at least they're trying, and maybe you can put in a bit of work to help it out some. Maybe you can put in some work to your idea and see what fruits may bear.
Anyway, we're going to wrap this episode up right about now. Remember that tomorrow you have a newish show. Tennessee Tuesday with John Blankenship and past Commander-in-Chief Jason Boshears. So tune in for that. I'm sure that they will be doing something great. I regretfully will not be able to because I'm in the middle of relocating my house. So it's just one of those things that, boy, howdy, I cannot wait for to be done with that.
I hate moving with a burning passion, so I know what you're talking about.
Nah, this is different this time. So we'll say this, just to give y'all a little bit of, you know, cool things. A couple months ago, we were going through and if you'd answered your phone last night, you could have found out this beforehand.
I was eating.
Yeah, well, you know, hey, it's just you
I
chose
called
to eat.
You back.
By that point, it was too late. So probably the coolest thing I have ever found, SCV wise, history wise, is the general order that named Dr. McCain Adjutant in Chief. And it's the order that we say is credited with saving the SCV.
Mm-hmm.
But I found something else that is equally cool in my dad's files. Never guess what it is.
What is it?
It is about a 10 to 15 page biography written by Dr. McCain on Nathan Bedford Forrest.
Oh, I hate you right now.
You know, if you'd answered your phone, you could have hated me last night. If only if I knew somebody who would publish pamphlets.
Luckily, we know someone.
Yeah, no kidding.
Oh. Calls him out on the middle of the show.
Hopefully he can work with us on, maybe getting that published at some point in the future.
Hey, I'll be the heck of a salesman for Dr. McCain.
Well, my big thing is Adam did answer his phone. He found out.
I'm sorry. He calls me when I'm eating supper, and we have a rule at the dinner table. We don't answer the phone. And then he called Dad, and Dad answered the phone.
Yeah, well, and he found out.
He didn't even tell me. He just went on with his night.
Yeah, well. Yeah. Sounds like a you and Forrest conversation you need to have there, Missy.
Nah, I ain't touching that one. But Yeah, tune in Tuesday for Tennessee Tuesdays, and tune
Wednesday,
in Thursday.
we have Look Around Florida with Sean McFall. Don't forget that.
Very true. And of course, Sunday we have he's renamed his show. I think it's History with Hardy.
I like the alliteration, Michael C. Hardy.
Yeah, it's beautiful. So congratulations. I know he has some interesting things he wants to kind of do. So we wish you the best of luck. Please go support Michael C. Hardy. And of course, the Friends of the Douglas Southall Freeman Group Friday Night Live with David Pope. Go check him out. And I guess that's kind of everything. I do have a picture to put up after we're done with everything. It's just a memorial.
You also have Thursday.
Yes.
With Look Around the Confederation.
Yes. Please make sure to check it out and send in news. I know we missed last Thursday, but that was just a scheduling issue that could not be overcome. Hopefully, we can get it out there this week. We will be looking into that after this episode.
Yeah, Kyle, send in news. We know y'all are doing things in Kentucky.
Kyle will send me like a 6-page thing, which is great. Everybody, please do that. That helps a lot.
Yeah, because then when you have young people say, well, what does the Sons of Confederate Veterans do?
Boom, there it is. But I guess without any further ado, no Fumar?
No Fumar.
And rare froppet, people. Rare froppet. That is a picture I found of Charlie at Washington Lee College, our university. So rest in peace, Charlie. And we are carrying on your legacy over here. We challenge everybody to join us in doing the same. Good night.